Alright boys, listen up. Whether you play HOT, Online Versus, World of Chell, it doesn't matter. Today I'm providing you a ranking of every single in-game attribute in NHL 25. Starting off with speed. The S in S tier stands for speed. Speed goes in S tier. S tier is speed. Now moving on to every single other stat, and they all go in F tier except these ones. So shot blocking, with this year's gameplay being what it is, blocking those shots is very important, right? I don't think shot blocking is quite S tier, so I'm gonna put it right here.
Bruh.
Yes, I honestly don't think shot blocking really does anything, so... Now durability is next, and... I mean, D stands for durability, so if you didn't know, durability basically means how likely your player is to get injured. So it doesn't really do much, but like if you have a player with really low durability, he will get injured more than other players. So it does something at least. And if you were thinking of the other stats, so aggressiveness is kind of like a modifier stat that just dictates how your AI will play with that player. And then obviously fighting skill doesn't impact gameplay, and poise actually doesn't even exist in online modes. Now next up, strength. I honestly don't exactly know what strength does, but I feel like it does something. I'll go right there in the middle. Now body checking actually makes a huge difference in NHL 25. If this was any year before NHL 25, I'd be putting it in like C tier, I think. But this year, I've actually noticed a big difference. So I'll actually put it in A. I honestly think body checking matters this year quite a bit. Next up, we actually have all 4 of the shooting stats. And because we're taking only one at a time. So think about this. So slapshot power on its own. Like if you have good slapshot power, it doesn't mean you have good slapshot accuracy. So I think like all of them are good, right? But because it's only one stat at a time, I think they're like B or like high C tier. I'll put them in C tier, honestly. You definitely could argue that they should be in B tier, but I'm gonna put them like high C tier. And I'm gonna put reshot accuracy as the best one, the second best being slapshot power, and then I'll go reshot power, slapshot accuracy, I think. But they're all pretty important, and if shooting was just one stat, that would definitely be up there, S or A tier. But because it's 4 separate stats, you know, I would much rather have a +5 to body checking than a +5 to one of these stats. If it was +5 to all of these, then we're talking, but it's just one at a time, if that makes sense. Endurance is important for sure. I don't think it quite fits in A tier though. I think it's B tier. It's a solid stat. If you have really low endurance, you definitely notice it. So it is important, but I don't think it's quite A tier. Honestly, has anyone ever looked at a card in HOT and straight away looked at what someone's balance is? I don't think so. And for that reason, C, D, I think I'll go D, honestly. We'll go high D tier, so better than durability, but I don't think it's quite... Well, actually, if strength is in C, I guess balance is in C as well. Yeah, we'll throw it in C. And yeah, I think C tier is good. By the way, if someone's wondering, what are the stats that I'm looking at first when I look at a HOT card? For me, the first thing I look at when I see a new card is that player's size. So height and weight, actually, the first 2 things I look at, and then speed. And then if it's a center, it's actually face-offs. So where's face-offs? Where's face-offs? There's face-offs. So face-offs, if it's a center. Obviously, if it's not a center, then we don't care about face-offs. But face-offs for centers is definitely A tier. Definitely A tier. So I feel like in the past it was all about speed. Now speed is just a little bit better than the other like elite stats. Talking about those elite stats, here we have another one, agility. we're throwing that right into A tier. So agility goes into A tier, and next up we have discipline. And discipline dictates how easy it is to take penalties. So the higher it is, the less likely you're going to trip someone, get like a charging penalty, things like that. Definitely does have its use. It is not F tier. And honestly, I don't think it's D tier either. Someone could even put it in B tier, but no, that's a little bit too crazy to put it above the shooting stats. So I'll just go right here in C tier. I think it is actually better than strength and maybe even better than balance. So I'll put it right there after the shooting stats. So next up we have stick checking. So stick checking is definitely important, but how important? I don't think it's up there with body checking, but I do I think it's B tier? Is it B tier? No, it's just barely C tier, I think. We'll go C tier. That seems a bit more correct. It can't be a tier above the shooting stats, right? No way. So offensive awareness next. If you didn't know what it does, I'm pretty sure it affects how your player is able to receive passes, for example. And I believe the AI might position themselves a little bit better with players that have high offensive awareness stats. So for sure, it's not like F or D tier, but I don't think I can put it above C tier, honestly. We'll just go right there. Bottom C tier. That's where offensive awareness belongs. But the defensive awareness, on the other hand, this is going to be... So what defensive awareness does, basically how you're able to intercept your opponent's passes. I think in years past, I would have ranked it definitely higher than body checking. But this year, I feel like defensive awareness isn't quite as much of a necessity to have on your player. I feel like they made defensively intercepting passes a lot easier, meaning you can get away with having someone with a bit lower defensive awareness. I'm sure it still does make a huge difference, like in years past, but maybe not quite as big of a difference. So could be A tier, but we'll throw it high B tier. Next up, puck control. Out of the hand category stats, I think puck control is the least necessary one. We'll put it like right there. I think that's fair. Now next up, hand eye. So hand eye is basically how well your player is able to hit the puck when it's midair. So for example, in deflections, intercepting like high saucer passes, things of that nature. So just for the deflections, I feel like it's a pretty important stat. Goes in C tier, but it's not better than the other ones in C tier. Next one is passing. I have a hard time putting passing anywhere else than also C tier, but I do think it is better than the shooting stats. We'll go right there behind stick checking. But deking, on the other hand, this year, I've noticed that deking actually matters. So for that reason, we're throwing deking in B tier. And lastly, acceleration. S stands for speed and A stands for acceleration. I guess you can also say A for agility, right? So S tier means speed, A tier means acceleration and agility. Face-offs for centers specifically. The reason why body checking separates itself from all the other stats is the fact that I've noticed that the stat itself matters massively this year. So not that body checking itself is like very important in game, but the difference between, let's say, a +5 in body checking really shows up in game, whereas something with like a stick checking, if you have an 80 stick checking or an 85, you can't really tell a difference, honestly. But body checking and deking are the two stats that I really noticed this year. We'll just zoom out here so you can see the entire tier list right here. So the next time you're comparing two cards in HUT, for example, or looking to make some changes to your World of Chell player, then keep this in mind. These are the stats that are the most important, and then maybe don't put all your points in World of Chell towards something like shot blocking, which honestly, I'm not sure if it does anything. But thanks for watching, guys. If you disagree with any of my picks, let me know. I could definitely see someone argue that maybe the shooting stat should be a little higher, or fighting skill should be S tier. So take care, everyone. If you haven't already subbed to the YouTube channel, by the way, do that. We just hit 3K, which is pretty wild considering I started making YouTube like properly like a year ago, which is insane. 3,000 of you guys have decided to hit that button. So massive thanks to anyone who does that. So take care, everyone, and thanks again.